It makes some people frustrated when you say Christianity is so simple. Like, I've been saved 26 years. I'm telling you the truth, guys. There's no struggle to being loved by God. There's no struggle to being a Christian, living Christ. I think there's a struggle with remaining self-conscious, having wrong identity, taking things personal, needing affirmation. I think those things we keep alive, and that's where the struggle is. Because we think that's all normal, but that was Adam. You're born again. The Lord said, do you know why you live the way you do? And I said, yes, because your mercy is amazing and you're awesome and you're incredible, loving God. And I started to say just what you just said. And I felt like I heard the Lord chuckle in my heart and say, that's not the answer I'm looking for. And I would have said what you would have said. That's the only answer. You are what you are by the grace of God. If a man has some, it's been given. There's no boasting in men. He said, nope, not the answer I'm looking for. I'm like, it's the only answer. He said, Dan, everything you're praising me for, everything you're saying I am, is who I am. But watch this, you get this. It needs a place to land in your life. It's one thing to say, Pastor, that God's merciful. It's another thing if you receive the mercy of God. Do you know that God's merciful and there's people that won't receive mercy? Do you know God's loving and forgiving and people won't receive forgiveness, won't forgive themselves? Do you know that God through the cross is saying you're worth it and there's people that are saying they can't be? So I guess we do participate, don't we? I could say God loves you all day and I'm right every time I say it. But until you receive and believe the love of God, you won't benefit from that truth. And you'll live as if you're unloved. That's why the just live by faith. That's why it's impossible to please God without faith. Now, when we hear please God without faith, we hear displeasure if we don't have faith. It's not displeasure in the way he wants to cut you off or he's mad at you or he's scorning. What it means is he can't enjoy the pleasure of a father's heart when a son's walking in fruition. We hear displeasure all the time when we hear God's not pleased. We hear displeasure. I don't think it's always the case. He said, do you know why you live the way you do? I said, yeah, because you're amazing. Your grace is sufficient. You're incredible, merciful God. He said, that's not the answer. I said, it's the only answer. He said, Dan, it needs a place to land. He said, let me tell you why you live the way you do. He said, the night you got saved, you saw your need for me. You saw your sinful life. You saw your heart. You were sin conscious. And you were like, oh my. And you looked to me, he said, but you were only sin conscious for that moment until you repented and yielded to me. But he said, ever since that moment, Dan, this was years ago, ever since that moment, you've been a son in your heart. And you never went back to that sin conscious. And he said, and everything you're praising me to be is always landing on your life. So you wake up knowing who I am and knowing who you are in me. Every single day, there's a consistent truth that's alive in my heart that sets the tone every day. Whether my wife's in identity crisis for 8 years, whether my kids were running wild at the same exact time, whether my mother was dying of a sickness. Can you see any of that in me? Can you see any of that testimony in me when I'm talking? Can you see my wife in a coma on life support with brain damage? Do you see that? You're never supposed to see that. Because it's never about the fire you've been through. It's about the Lord that you bow to. It wasn't about Shadrach's fire. It wasn't about Nebuchadnezzar's fire. It wasn't about Meshach's trial. It was about their non-compromise. They won't call something Lord that's not. And it wasn't about the fire burning or going out. It was about them never changing. Because if it was about the fire, Jesus would have put it out right away. You know what he did? He stepped in the middle of it and left it keep burning. Unbound his boys and made sure they were free in the middle of the trial. And left it rage the whole time. Till old Nebi caught view and said, what, Shaq? Come on out there. It's the VeggieTales. Shaq, back. Benny, come out of the fire. You ever see it? Oh, it's so powerful, man.